Hey, how y'all doing out there? Back at you again with another video. Today I'd like to do a quick comparison between the Galaxy S20 Ultra and the OnePlus 7T Pro. Now, you got the S20 Ultra right here, OnePlus 7T Pro over here. Both of these phones are flagship devices, meaning top tier, the best of the best for these companies. Okay? Now, of course, we know Samsung has the Note, but as far as the S line concerned, this is their top tier device. Now, just want to say really quick, when it comes down to these devices, it's always going to come down to personal preference. What you need may not be what another person need. What you don't like may be something somebody else do like. Now, both of these, in my opinion, are definitely great devices in their own right. I know some people may say, well, why compare a newer device that came out this year to a device that came out last year? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Now, people are automatically going to assume right off the bat that the S20 Ultra is better than the OnePlus 7T Pro. But that's not necessarily the case, because you got to think about it. Everybody don't care about a bunch of features, okay? And don't care about a phone that's super spec'd out. Some people like a more simplistic experience. They just care about speed, performance, things like that. They don't need all the bells and whistles. So it's a matter of preference, and it's a matter of what you need and what you don't need. So don't automatically assume just because another phone has greater specs that just makes it a better overall phone. That's not necessarily the case. All right, so let's get into the comparison. Now, the S20 Ultra comes fully unlocked for all your carriers, so that's a big advantage for this particular device. On the other hand, the OnePlus 7T Pro only is a GSM phone only, so no Sprint, no Verizon. Now, with the with the S20 Ultra, it was released in 2020 of this year, and the S20 Ultra was released 2019. The end of 2019, the OnePlus 7T Pro, y'all. All right. Now, first thing, there's going to be a huge difference between these two devices. The S20 Ultra is considerably more expensive than the OnePlus 7T Pro, considerably more, okay? Now, with the S20 Ultra, when it first was released, it was $1,400 plus tax. And I'll say that, and I'll say this and I'll say it again over and over again, that's too high for any device. It's just too much money, okay? Nobody should be spending $1,400 on a device. That's a laptop. So please do not spend $1,400 on a phone. Now, if you can get a great trade-in deal or some kind of deal where there's hundreds of dollars taken off the device, then I say go for it. But other than that, don't ever pay full price for these devices, because they're just not worth it and they depreciate very quickly. At least Android phones do. That's just being truthful and honest. The only phones that really hold their value for a long time is Apple devices. They hold their value better than Android devices. All right, so with the S20 Ultra, it came out $1,400. You can find it on Amazon for $1,200, on eBay for $1,100, $839 refurbished, $976 brand new, and $745 pre-owned. That's the S20 Ultra. With the OnePlus 7T Pro, I've seen it for $635. Now, this is the 8 gig of RAM model and 256 gigs of internal storage. Brand new on Amazon, you're looking at $639. And for the McLaren edition open box, $500, and $469 for the McLaren edition pre-owned. Now, of course, these prices are going to vary. With eBay, the prices fluctuate. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down even further. So you'll have to check that out for yourself and, see what the current price is for the device. Now, that was the current prices for these both devices the last time I checked, all right, which was maybe a few weeks ago. All right. With the S20 Ultra, you're dealing with a 6.9-inch Quad HD dynamic AMOLED display with 120 hertz refresh rate. Now, the only thing that's unfortunate about the 120 hertz refresh rate is that you can only use it at 1080p Full HD plus. You can't use it at its highest resolution, which is Quad HD. So that's the only thing that's bad. Now, most people don't care, long as it still looks good, which it does look good. I'm not gonna lie, but $1,400 and you can't even use the phone at its highest resolution. That's really not acceptable to me, honestly, especially because of how expensive this device is. $1,400 plus tax, and I can't even use the 120 hertz refresh rate at Quad HD. That's not good. With the OnePlus 7T Pro, you're dealing with a 6.67-inch Quad HD Fluid AMOLED display with a 90 hertz refresh rate. And you can use full Quad HD. You can use the 90 hertz refresh rate at Quad HD. Now that's good. That's the way it's supposed to be. And this phone costs considerably a lot less than this phone. And you could use the Quad HD with the 90 hertz, so you can use it at its highest resolution with the Quad HD. That's the way it's supposed to be, especially when you're spending that kind of money. All right. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has Gorilla Glass 6 with aluminum frame, and it has a glossy back. Now, unfortunately, this phone is a fingerprint magnet. Okay. Now I know it don't look like it now because I just wiped it down, but it has a glossy back, and this is definitely a fingerprint magnet. But I will say this. The build quality on this device is excellent. I mean, it's beautiful. It has a nice thickness to it, even though it's not quite thick enough to cover up the size of that camera hump. This camera is huge. But the build quality on this device is actually beautiful, is excellent, and it's extremely comfortable to hold in the hand. Why, you say? Because it's nice. It has a nice thickness and it's rounded off on the edges, so it's not stabbing me in the palm of my hand. So it's very, very comfortable to hold in the hand. Now, as far as the design, I don't like the design because I don't like that big giant camera module. It's too big and it takes up half of the back of the phone. So I don't like the device. I mean, I don't like the design, but I love the build quality because it's excellent. And it feels like a premium device, which it is. You're going to be very happy with the build quality of this device. Now I'm going to put the case back on it because the phone is just, sometimes it's a little, just a tad bit slippery, not that much. For the most part, you could easily rock that without a case, not a problem. I always put cases because it gives me better grip, and also I don't want to drop it and break it because glass breaks. Okay. All right. Now, with the OnePlus 7T Pro, you got Gorilla Glass 5 with an aluminum frame. Now, I like the design of this phone better than that of the S20 Ultra. I love the color, and also you're dealing with a matte finish, so no fingerprints at all. Has a nice frosted back where you don't have to worry about it looking ugly and having to wipe it down all the time. But I will say this, it's not as comfortable to hold as the S20 Ultra. The S20 Ultra is more comfortable, and I think for the most part it's because it's a thicker device. Now, this is not super thin, but that device, the S20 Ultra being thicker, makes it a lot more comfortable for me to hold in my hand. Not that this is uncomfortable, because this is definitely comfortable, but it's not as comfortable, in my opinion, as the S20 Ultra. But I love the design and I love the color and this frosted back. And for me, I like the camera being this small, and I like it being in the middle of the back of the phone as opposed to everybody putting it over here on the left-hand side of the phone. I like it in the middle. That's just what I prefer. But that's just me. So I'm going to put this back in the case because if I don't, it tend to slide all over the place. All right. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has the always-on display, as you can see there, and the OnePlus 7T Pro does not have an always-on display. However, with the OnePlus 7T Pro, the always-on display is coming via a software update next month. So that's good news. It's about time. They're a little late to the party, but finally we're going to get an always-on display on the OnePlus 7T Pro. So I give them kudos for that. But right now, it doesn't have it. Now, I'm almost certain it's not going to be as good as Samsung, but excuse me, I could be wrong. It could be just as good as Samsung. Okay, we'll see. All right, next thing. S20 Ultra has dual stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos. the OnePlus 7T Pro also has dual stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos. Which one sounds better? In my opinion, the S20 Ultra definitely sounds better. It's louder and it has more depth of sound, a fuller stereo sound to it. Now the OnePlus 7T Pro speakers don't sound bad, but they just don't have that deep depth full stereo sound that the S20 Ultra has. But they're both really good speakers. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has 12 gigs of RAM. The OnePlus 7T Pro only has 8 gigs of RAM. Now, I don't know why they came out with just one variant of this device. Just confusing to me. I mean, they brought it out at the end of the year, but still, I don't understand why it came out with only 8 gigs as opposed to 12 gigs. So you're going to get more gigs on the S20 Ultra. And also, the S20 Ultra has excellent RAM management. Now, the OnePlus 7T Pro doesn't have terrible RAM management, but I would have to say Samsung's RAM management is better. And also, because you have 4 more gigs of RAM, you could hold more apps open in the background with the S20 Ultra. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has 128 gigs of internal storage. The OnePlus 7T Pro has 256 gigs of internal storage. Now, I said this when I did my review. There's no way this phone should have came with only 128 gigs of internal memory for $1,400. At minimum, it should have been 256, then 512, and then maybe a terabyte. You know, I know it has expandable memory, but that's not the point. $1,400. So I do like the fact that OnePlus 7T Pro does give you 256, but however, you can't expand the memory. All right, next thing. S20 Ultra, expandable memory up to 1 terabyte. OnePlus 7T Pro, no expandable memory at all. Now, that's something I've been complaining about in OnePlus devices for years. Like, please put expandable memory in the phone, especially when you don't start out at a big amount. Like, for me, the OnePlus 8 Pro that just came out is $1,000. Give me 512 gigs. You're not giving me no expandable storage, so at least give me more gigage, as far as internal memory. I don't know why they just can't put a SD card slot in there. They can have 2 SIMs. Like, why can't we just get expandable memory? Like, just give us what we want. Give us the expandable memory. Next thing, S20 Ultra has 15-watt fast wireless charging. The OnePlus 7T Pro does not have any wireless charging at all. Okay. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has HDR10 Plus. The OnePlus 7T Pro also has HDR10 Plus. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has the Snapdragon 865. The OnePlus 7T Pro has the 855 Plus. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to notice a difference between the two when it comes to speed because both are super fast. However, the OnePlus 7T Pro is a faster device than the S20 Ultra. It just is. I'm sorry. I mean, if OnePlus is always about the speed, this thing is a monster when it comes to speed. Now, if you're talking about you want a phone that's going to perform like a champ every time, this is the device. I have the greatest software experience on this device than I have on any other device I've had. Now, don't get me wrong, the S20 Ultra ain't no slouch. It is fast and it's super smooth with that 120 hertz refresh rate, but the speed on this phone is ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous, blazing fast and smooth to go with it. So if you want the fastest and smoothest experience, you want the OnePlus 7T Pro. And it does not matter about Snapdragon 65 versus the Snapdragon 855 Plus. It does not matter. For some reason, OnePlus is all about that speed. And if you're all about that speed, this is the one you want. Next thing, S20 Ultra, IP68 water and dust resistance. The OnePlus 7T Pro, no IP68 water and dust resistance. Now, with the 8 Pro, you're definitely getting that now. But with this phone, you're not getting that. Even though OnePlus says if you drop your phone in some water and take it out really quick, you should be fine. They say it's splash proof, but it doesn't have the IP rating and people want peace of mind. So I wouldn't have this phone near any water. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has Samsung Pay. The OnePlus 7T Pro has Google Pay. Samsung Pay is better because it's accepted everywhere. So advantage for the S20 Ultra. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has Face Unlock. The OnePlus 7T Pro also has Face Unlock. Which one's better? Clearly, by far, the OnePlus 7T Pro. It's a pop-up selfie. It comes up at the top, comes right up quickly down. Much, much faster than Samsung's Face Unlock. For some reason, this thing is slow. It just is. This has a pop-up camera and it's faster than a camera that's already built into the display. Don't figure. But if you want the fastest Face Unlock, you want the OnePlus 7T Pro. It blows the S20 Ultra out of the water, in my opinion, based on not only my opinion, but in my experience. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor underneath the display, and the OnePlus 7T Pro also has an optical in-display fingerprint sensor. Which one has the better fingerprint sensor? No question, easily answered. The OnePlus 7T Pro has the best in-display fingerprint sensor I've ever used on any device. You know, all the devices that have in-display fingerprint sensors, this one is the best by far because it's effortless. Like, it's 100% accurate, and it's fast, and it has a nice animation and haptic feedback. With the S20 Ultra, you're not getting no haptic feedback, and you're getting almost really no animation. It's just a little water ripple effect, but it's so less. It's not dramatic at all. There's nothing about it. Like, to me, it's no animation at all, in my opinion. It's just not. So if you want the best in-display fingerprint sensor experience, you want the OnePlus 7T Pro. S20 Ultra, it's slow. You got to press real hard. You know, when the screen says you ain't pressing hard enough, you got to cover your whole finger. Like, it's just always something. It's just not as accurate as it should be. Next thing, S20 Ultra has the One UI on top of Android 10. The OnePlus 7T Pro has Oxygen OS on top of Android 10. Now, I like One UI because it's loaded with features. It clearly blows the OnePlus 7T Pro out of the water when it comes to just features. Okay, it's feature packed. So I love the One UI. But Oxygen OS, I'm telling you right now, if it's about that speed, that buttery smoothness, and the simplicity closer to stock Android, this is the one you want. Everybody don't care about a phone that has a ton of features and a whole bunch of great specs. They don't. Some people want that a phone that's more towards stock Android, you know, a cleaner OS. And Oxygen OS is going to give you that, okay? Now, if I had to pick between the two, I'm going to go with the S20 Ultra only because I'm a feature guy. I'm about having tons and tons of features. Whether I use them or not is irrelevant. They're there if I want to use them. If I want to decide, okay, I'm going to try this out and see if I like it. I like having the option. However, I love Oxygen OS because, like I said, it is customizable. It's not like it doesn't have any customization to it at all. It's actually a lot more customizable than Google. Google's not nowhere near as customizable as Oxygen OS, and this runs much faster and smoother than even the Pixels, in my opinion, because I've had the Pixel 4, and this still ran faster and smoother. Okay? All right. Next thing. S20 Ultra, 5,000 milliamp battery. OnePlus 7T Pro, 4,085 milliamp battery. Now, which one gives you better battery life? It's going to be the OnePlus 7T Pro. I'm telling you, the way they optimize the software on this device, this thing is a battery champion. I'm just telling you. Literally, I used the phone off and on for 7 straight days, and after 7 days, I had 25% battery left. And that's with the brightness all the way up. And that's over 6 hours of screen on time. 7 days, okay? You ain't getting that out of this S20 Ultra, not even close, please, okay? You get about a day and a half. Unless you use the phone light, you could probably get 2 days, okay? Now, this is not bad battery life, but you're only going to get a day, maybe a day and a half, and you're pushing it then, all right? You're pushing it. Now, always, and I say this, and other YouTubers have said this too, battery life is going to be subjective, and it's going to depend on how you use your phone. Everybody use their phone differently. Some people shoot a lot of 4K video. Some people want to shoot 8K video, which this is equipped to do, which this one is not. They got the brightness all the way up. They're using always on display. They streaming a lot of videos. It's just going to depend on how you use your phone. Okay. But I'm still going to say overall battery life, the OnePlus 7T Pro is better than the S20 Ultra. It just is. Even though this has a way bigger battery, this one is just optimized to perfection, where you not going to ever have to worry about tripping and getting scared and having battery anxiety with this device. You're not. It's a battery champion. Okay? No question about it. It's not always about the size of the battery. It's about how it's optimized through the software. Keep that in mind. All right, next, S20 Ultra 9-watt reverse wireless charging. Of course, you got no reverse wireless charging on the OnePlus 7T Pro. Now, keep in mind, there's people out there that could care less about reverse wireless charging, and the average consumer may not even know what reverse wireless charging is. Let me just explain really quick. Reverse wireless charging allows you to take a phone that has wireless charging capabilities, put that phone on the back of your phone, and give that phone charge. Also, you can use a smartwatch to charge the device. You can use some wireless earbuds that are wireless, and you can use your phone to charge that device. So it is something that could come in handy, when you need it. So, but that for the average consumer, they're not going to use it, and they don't care. They just don't. So I haven't used it that much. I use it a couple of times, but I like the fact that it's there if I need it, especially if I paid a lot for the device. So I like it. But there's people that don't care about that, and that's the OnePlus 7T Pro folk. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has 25-watt super fast charging. The OnePlus 7T Pro has 30-watt warp fast charging. Which one charges faster? Well, I would have to say the OnePlus charges a little faster only because it has a smaller battery. This is going to take a little bit longer, but for this battery to be this large, this phone still charges extremely fast. I was timing it, and I was up to 55% battery in 30 minutes, and that's for a 5,000 milliamp battery. So it's gonna take you just a little over an hour for this phone, but both are very, very fast. 25 watt and 30 watt warp. So both are really fast. So you're not gonna have, if you need to top off and charge your phone really quick, you're gonna be able to do it with both devices. Next, the S20 Ultra has secure folder. The OnePlus 7T Pro doesn't have secure folder. Now, secure folder is something that I like and I need because I like to put certain things in there and keep them, tucked away and protected from prying eyes. If somebody needs to use my phone, I don't have to worry about them getting into anything that they don't need to be getting into. You could put apps in there, you could put photos, you could put videos in there. So I like that. Okay, OnePlus 7T Pro, maybe that's something they could look into putting on their devices, and it's just software, so I'm sure that's something they could add if the people that if the consumers care about that. Everybody don't care about that, but I like secure folder. Next thing, S20 Ultra has edge lighting and edge panels. Show you what that is really quick for those that may not know. This is your edge panels right here. These come in handy, at least for me. I like them. I like this, the weather, and, shortcuts to a lot of things, play your music, dial people like that. I like that. Now, edge lighting is when you get a notification, all the borders around the whole phone light up. And I like that. Now, there's some people out there that don't care about that, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, the OnePlus 7T Pro does not have either. Okay? But there's a lot of you out there don't care about that stuff. To you, that's gimmicky. All right. Next thing, the S20 Ultra has Samsung DeX. The OnePlus 7T Pro does not. Now that may be a big deal for some people when you could take your phone and use it as a laptop. Turn your phone to a laptop. That's really cool. Okay, that's something OnePlus 7T, OnePlus should come out with. I think their fans wouldn't mind that. It's just a convenience, and it's cool when you could just take your phone and just plug, hook it up with a monitor and use it as a laptop. That's cool. So I like that. Not that that matters to everybody, because that doesn't matter to everybody. Everybody don't care about that feature, but it's just something I had to point out. Next thing, S20 Ultra Bluetooth 5.0, OnePlus 7T Pro Bluetooth 5.0. Next thing, the S20 Ultra 32-bit audio tuned by AKG. OnePlus 7T Pro, I could not find any details about the sound that's coming out of this device. I know it has Dolby Atmos, but as far as how many bits the audio is, I don't know. I tried scanning on the internet, even OnePlus. I just couldn't find out what it is. Somebody know what it is, please let me know. Now, which one has better sound quality that comes out of the USB Type-C? It's going to be the S20 Ultra. It just sounds better overall sound. The OnePlus 7T Pro doesn't sound bad, but the S20 Ultra definitely has superior sound when it comes to audio. Next thing, S20 Ultra screen recording, OnePlus 7T Pro screen recording. Next thing, S20 Ultra, 3 years of software updates. The OnePlus 7T Pro also gets 3 years of software updates. However, the OnePlus 7T Pro will get updates faster than that of the S20 Ultra. And I think the reason for that is because Samsung puts so many features and things into their phone. I think it just takes them time to merge the newest version of Android into their software. So it takes a little more time for that to happen, and then for them to get it out to everybody. But OnePlus 7T Pro, when they send out their updates for their devices, everybody gets them at the same time, as opposed to Samsung, where people that get have unlocked sometime will get it slower than a person that's have the phone hooked up to a carrier. So it varies. But with OnePlus, when they drop their software update, everybody that has a OnePlus device gets them at the same time. So hopefully that's something Samsung can improve upon. Next thing, S20 Ultra, no headphone jack. OnePlus 7T Pro, no headphone jack. And people that know me know I don't like phones that don't have headphone jacks, even though I know this is the age we're living in and all that and whatever. I don't like it. Okay? I don't like it. I prefer a phone with a headphone jack. But neither one has it, so it is what it is. That's just the way of the world. Next thing, S20 Ultra, one-handed mode. The OnePlus 7T Pro, no one-handed mode. Now, however, the OnePlus 7T Pro is getting that also with their newest version of Oxygen OS that's going to be coming out soon. Or I believe either it's through that or it's through the next Android 11. So they're going to get a one-handed mode, but the Samsung S20 Ultra already has it, and I'll show you what that is. You just swipe down, and it makes the screen smaller. You can go either left or right. Oh, sorry. See, you can take it either side. If you're a lefty or a righty, but you have full access to the whole whole display. You just made it smaller. So if you're concerned about a device being too tall, too big, you could always make it small, and then you can still do what you need to do. And then when you're done, press the black thing and make it large again. So I love one-handed mode, and I use it every single day. All right. Next thing, S20 Ultra, no alert slider. The OnePlus 7T Pro does have an alert slider on the side, which a lot of YouTubers say that they really like. Now, me, I don't care about the alert slider only because I keep my phone on vibrate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So I don't care. I could, have it or don't have it. It don't matter to me. But for those people that actually can have their phone, and I'll say the reason why I do that too is because of my job, and also the fact that I get tons and tons and tons of notifications. So if I'm constantly hearing my phone go off, it's going to start to annoy me. Now, a little vibration don't bother me, but constantly hearing noises from notifications constantly going off, that would get on my nerves. Now, with the OnePlus 7T Pro, you do have alert slider on the side where you could put it on vibrate, you could put it on silent, and you could put it back on, when it rings. So there's people out there that like that, and they like the convenience that that's on the phone. All right. Next thing, S20 Ultra is loaded with features, like I said before. And the OnePlus 7T Pro does have features and stuff like that, but it's nowhere near as much as the as the S20 Ultra. S20 Ultra has tons and tons of features. OnePlus 7T Pro is customizable and has features, but it's more closer to stock Android. All right, next thing, when it comes to the cameras now, for a lot of people out there, it's all about the cameras. Now, for me, not so much. I mean, I like a camera that takes really good pictures. It doesn't have to be the best camera on the market, okay? But it just has to take decent pictures. Now, I think a lot of people, the regular common person, they don't care about 100 times zoom. They don't care about that. They don't care about a 108 megapixel camera. They don't care about a 40 megapixel selfie camera. They just want to be able to take a picture and they just want it to look good. Okay? Now, for those that are into the camera, that y'all all about that camera life, you're heavily into photography, then this is probably the phone that you're gonna want. Okay? Now you got a 108 megapixel wide lens with optical image stabilization. You got a 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with optical image stabilization. And you got 4 times optical zoom, 10 times hybrid zoom, and 100 times space zoom. Now that 100 times space zoom is just numbers because anything past 30 times zoom doesn't look very good at all. It's very distorted, and it looks like an oil painting. So it's just numbers when it comes to that 100 times zoom. That's just something that Samsung was pushing out there, I guess, to sell more devices, but that's just numbers. All right. Also, you got a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens. You got super steady video, 3 megapixel time of flight sensor, a 40 megapixel wide front facing camera. Now, with the rear cameras, you got shoots in 8K at 24 frames per second, 4K at 60 frames per second, 1080p at 60 and 240 frames per second, and 720p at 960 frames per second. And also you got HDR10 plus stereo sound recording. With the front-facing camera, it shoots at 4K at 60 frames per second and 1080p at 60 frames per second. Also, the S20 Ultra has 13 camera modes. So if you're heavily into photography and you want to have a lot of fun with the camera, even if you're not heavily into photography, but if you're a kind of person that loves to take a lot of photos and videos, this is going to be the camera you want. And you're going to have a lot more fun because it has so many shooting modes on it. Okay, so many. I'm not going to go over them here. Just check out my video, my review of the S20 Ultra, and I go over, those camera modes. Now, with the OnePlus 7T Pro, you got a 48 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel telephoto with 3 times optical zoom. You got a 16 megapixel ultra wide, dual LED flash, front facing camera is a 16 megapixel wide. Now with the rear cameras, they shoot at 4K at 30, 60, and 240 frames per second, and at 1080p at 30, 60 frames per second, and at 720p, you can shoot at 960 frames per second. That's your super slow motion. With the front-facing camera, you can shoot at 1080p at 30 frames per second. Now it's very unfortunate that the OnePlus front-facing camera doesn't shoot at 4K, and it doesn't shoot at 60 frames per second at either 1080p, and it don't have no 4K recording capabilities at all. But like I said before, there's some people don't care about that. You don't need 4K front-facing camera video. You don't need 60 frames per second. Okay, it just depends on the person. And with the OnePlus 7T Pro, you only have 6 shooting modes. So if you're looking for that more simplified camera experience, you want the OnePlus 7T Pro. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, both of these are great devices in their own right. You have a S20 Ultra that's super jam-packed with specs and features, and you have with the OnePlus 7T Pro a more smooth, simplistic, laid-back approach to Android, which there's a lot of people out there that like that. They like that stock Android experience. They don't care about reverse wireless charging. There's a lot of people that don't even care about wireless charging. You got people that don't need expandable memory. They don't need IP68 water and dust resistant. They don't need a 108 megapixel camera. They don't need 100 times zoom. They just don't need all that stuff. So for that person that's like that and you want to pay hundreds of dollars less, you want the OnePlus 7T Pro. But if you're a techie like me and you want everything and you want the latest and greatest and you all about them specs and all about them features, then you want the S20 Ultra. So both are great. Both going to give you a great experience. The display on both are great. You can get Quad HD on both, and you can get 1080p on both. So both are great devices. One has 120 hertz, one has 90 hertz. But I'm telling you right now, there's no difference between 90 and 120. They're both exactly the same to me as far as smoothness. Now, as far as speed, the OnePlus 7T Pro is a much faster phone than the S20 Ultra. It just is. Okay? So you're going to have a great experience on both devices, and it's going to come down to personal preference, like I said. And also, I failed to mention that the S20 Ultra is a much heavier device than the OnePlus 7T Pro. You could literally get arm and hand fatigue holding this phone up to your ear if you're on the phone with somebody for a long time. With the S20, with the OnePlus 7T Pro, you're not going to have that problem. It's not that heavy at all. Both are great, great build quality, great displays. Both have really good battery life, even though, like I said again, the OnePlus 7T Pro is the battery champ. Like literally 7 days of battery life. 7 days. Okay? That's with light usage. You never get that even with light usage out of this Samsung. You're going to get, even if you don't use this phone, you could get 2 days max and that battery's going to die. Because OnePlus optimizes their phone so well that if you're not using the phone, you're not going to use battery. Not so much for the Samsung. Whether you use it or not, you're still going to burn through a lot of battery. I don't know why they haven't figured out a way to optimize the battery life on their devices yet after all these years. But you'll get through a full day with both. So that was my comparison of the S20 Ultra and the OnePlus 7T Pro. Can't go wrong with both, but it's going to come down to personal preference and how much you want to spend on the device. So I want to say thanks again to all my subscribers. And I do appreciate you. I hope you guys are staying safe out there. And thank you for all those that have just become subscribers. I do appreciate your support. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.